Hi, friends. Oh, I'm so glad you came today, although you are a little late. Yeah, you are late, friend. You missed my whole party. What? I forgot to tell you about the party? My bad, friend. So sorry. Let me go ahead and tell you about it now. Okay, so today I was having a party, which I forgot to tell you about, so sorry. And for the party, I made some delicious treats. And this is what my table looked like at the beginning of the party. And then the party happened, and then this is what it looked like at the end of the party. Do you see what happened there? Yes, good observation, friends. See, I started out with 3 cupcakes. Then the party happened, and at the end, I had 0 cupcakes. Why do you think that is? Yeah, because all the cupcakes were eaten. Good job, friends. But then look at these cookies. I started the party with 4 cookies. The party happened, and I end up with 4 cookies. How did that happen? Offended. Yes, nobody ate any of my cookies. 0 people ate cookies. I don't know why they're delicious, but okay, we all make choices. Okay, well, you know what? Even though you missed the party, which was my bad, we can use what happened at my party to actually talk about what we're doing today in math. Because we've been talking about adding and subtracting, and today we're going to talk about, we're going to do some deep diving into different ways to subtract. So our learning goal says, I can tell what happens when you subtract all and subtract 0. And that's what happened at my party today. See, let's turn these cupcakes into a number sentence, shall we? All right, so I had 3 cupcakes. So if I was going to turn this into a number sentence, I would start out by writing the number 3, right? And then remember, subtracting is just a change happening where we start out with one amount and we end up with less. So I had 3 cupcakes, a change happened, the party happened, and I ended up with 0 cupcakes. So, what was the change that happened? What would I write? I would subtract how many, friends? Yeah, 3. Why did I write 3 minus 3? Because I started with 3 and all of them were eaten. So, I'm going to go ahead and subtract all of them, right? And if everything was eaten, all of it was eaten, how many do I have left? Exactly 0. So, my number sentence says 3 minus 3 equals 0. Now, we know that we can use number sentences to retell the story to check ourselves to see if we got it right. So get your reading finger with me. I'm going to go ahead and read this story to you, and you tell me if I did a good job. Okay? So, at the beginning of the party, there were 3 cupcakes. The party happened, and people ate all 3 cupcakes. So, in the end, there were 0 cupcakes left. How'd I do? Haha, yes. Good job, me. All right, I bet you can do just as good of a job as I did. Yeah, let's do it together, friends. Now, I'm going to bring my friends back on the bus. Okay, they're going to help us out today. So, hi, friends. All right, so let me tell you a story, and I want you to be thinking, what kind of number sentence would you write to match this story? Okay, so there were 5 friends on the bus. We stopped at the bus stop, and all of the friends got off. And then we ended up with 0 friends on the bus. Okay, did you start thinking about what number sentence you would write? Ooh, I like it. Was your brain moving and grooving? Ooh, perfect. Now, normally, or usually, I guess I would say, when we're doing math, I also really like to draw a quick picture. But I don't really feel like getting out my dry erase board and marker today, so we're going to use a different tool to show what we're thinking. And that tool is our counting sticks. Now, counting sticks are just a fancy way to talk about your fingers. Okay, so let's retell this story again, but this time, as we're thinking about that number sentence, we're going to use our counting sticks to show what's happening. Ready? All right, here we go. So there were 5 friends on the bus. Can you go ahead and show me 5 using your counting sticks? Ah, perfect. Good job. There were 5 friends on the bus. We stopped at the bus stop and all of the friends got off. Now, if we have 5, how can you really fast show me 0? Because that's how many are left. Can you show me 0? Yeah, we just have to make a fist to get rid of all those 5 friends. So we had 5 friends on the bus. They all got off, and now we have 0. Isn't that fun to do? I love it. Okay. All right. Thanks, counting six. You're super helpful. Okay, so what number sentence could we write? Already got us started. So we can write 5, and then because we started out with 5 friends, they all got off at the first stop. So how could we turn that into a number sentence? 5 minus what? Yes, 5 minus 5, because they all got off, equals how many, friend? Ding, 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 0. Good job. Should we try another one? Yeah, let's do it. All right, you're really good at those counting sticks. Okay, so listen to the story first, and then we'll get our counting sticks back out. Okay, so there were 4 friends on the bus. We stopped at the museum, and all 4 friends got off to go to the museum. And now there are 0 friends on the bus. Okay, let's turn that into a story using our counting sticks. Are you ready? So here we go. We had 4 friends on the bus. Go ahead and show me 4. Perfect. And all 4 friends wanted to go to the museum. So when we stopped there, they all got off. Can you show me how many got off? Yes, they all got off. So how many are left? 0. Excellent. I cannot even, you guys are so good. Okay, can you go ahead and press pause for a second? Can you talk with a friend? Now we had 4 friends. They all got off on the stop to go to the museum, and then we had 0 left. Can you tell them what kind of number sentence would you write about this story? Press pause while you think about it, and then press play, and we'll talk about it. Okay, did you come up with a number sentence to show that you're subtracting all of them? Okay, so we had 4. So we're going to start with 4. And then what would we say to show they all got off? Yeah, minus 4, because we're subtracting all of them, right? 4 minus 4. And then how many does that equal in the end? What's our total? Yeah, might equal 0. There's only 0 left. We have none. Because if we have 4, we subtract all of them, we end up with 0. All right, I'm going to really stretch our brains. Can you do it? Yes, you can totally do it. For this one, I'm going to give you the number sentence. And what I want you to do is I want you to come up with a story that would explain what happened with that number sentence. So the number sentence is 8 minus 8 equals 0. It's a subtract all number sentence, friend. Okay, so I want you to make up a story about these friends on the bus that goes along with that number sentence. So press pause, tell your story to a buddy, and then press play when you're ready to tell me all about it. Okay, did you come up with a really good story about these friends? Where did your friends go? Mine went to the zoo. Okay, this is the story that I came up with. Ready? I said there were 8 friends. I'm going to use my reading finger, so sorry. There were 8 friends heading to the zoo on the bus. When they got to the zoo, all 8 friends got off the bus, and now there are 0 friends left on the bus. Okay, did my story kind of sound like your story? I hope so. I hope that you had all 8 and they all got off somewhere, because that's what it means when we subtract all. Okay, so let's see. We had 8 and then all 8 got off, and then now we have 0. How would we show this story using our counting sticks? Can you show me 8? That's a lot. Yeah, 5 and then 3 more. Perfect. All right, so that's 8. And then if we have 8 friends, we go to the zoo and they all got off. What would that look like with your counting sticks? Yep, 0. Because if they all leave, then we have 0 left. Wow, you are so good at subtracting all. Hey, friend, have you noticed anything about subtracting all? Let's look at a list that we've made so far. So we had 5 minus 5 equals 0. We had 4 minus 4 equals 0. And then we also had 8 minus 8 equals 0. Is there something that you notice about what happens every time you subtract all? Is this a room full of geniuses or what? Yeah, every time you subtract all, you get 0. We could even make it a rule. When you subtract all, you get 0 every single time. Let me show you. It doesn't matter what the number is. If you have 10 and you subtract 10, what are you going to get? 0. Yeah, because you're subtracting all. If you have a big number like 15 and you subtract 15, what are you going to get? 0, because every time you subtract all, you get 0. It doesn't matter how big the number is. What about if you had 20? If you had 20 minus 20, what would you end up with? 0. That is right, because we've already figured it out. If you subtract all, you're going to get 0 every single time. Isn't that cool? Oh my gosh, math is so much fun. Okay, so that was part of our learning goal, was to subtract all, and we did beautifully with that. The other part was to subtract 0. Remember those cookies? Yeah, remember my party? We had 4, and then the party happened, and then we still had 4. So how many people ate cookies? Yeah, 0. Now, I've told you before that when you subtract, you end up with less. But sometimes, and really only when you subtract 0, you actually just end up with the same amount. Okay? So if we have 4 and then 0 people eat them, we still have 4. There was like not a change that happened. But we can show that nothing was subtracted by writing -0. Okay? So let's practice subtracting 0, just like my poor cookies right there. All right, come on back, best friends. Okay, so if we had 5 friends go to the museum, we go to the museum, and all 5 friends decide to stay on the bus. They don't want to go. So they're all still there. Our number sentence would look like this. We had 5 friends on the bus. 0 of them wanted to go to the museum. So 5 friends are still on the bus. How can we show that with our counting 6? Yeah, show me 5, will you? Perfect. All right, so let's go ahead and tell the story using our counting 6. 5 friends were on the bus. 0 of them got off at the museum. So are your counting 6 going to change at all? No, there was no change, right? Yeah, okay. So 5 friends stayed on the bus, and that's how many we had left over. Oh my goodness. Yeah, our counting 6 kind of don't have to do much right now, right? They're just showing that we had 5. 0 of them got off at the museum, so we still have 5. The change was nothing. When we subtracted 0, we ended up with the same answer that we started with, right? Let's check that out on this one. Let's see. If we had 4 friends, we stopped at the bus stop and 0 got off. How many did we end up with? Yeah, we still have 4. Can you show me 4 with your counting 6? So if we had 4 and then we go to the bus stop and 0 of them get off, can you show me what that change would look like? Yeah, it's going to look exactly the same. 0 people got off, so it's still 4, right? Even if our number sentence looks like this, 4 minus 0, what's that going to equal? Yeah, 4. Because if we're not taking any away, is the number that we started with going to change? No, it's still going to be the same, right? Because there was no change. The change was no change. Okay. All right. Let's see. Okay. Here is number sentence. 8 minus 0 equals 8. What's a story you could tell about our 8 friends on the bus, where there were 8 friends and then we subtracted 0 and we ended up with 8? Can you go ahead and press pause? Tell a buddy or a friend or even a stuffy in your room. Go ahead and tell someone a story about 8 friends on the bus, subtracting 0 and ending up with 8. Go ahead. Press pause while you do it and then press play when you're ready. Okay, did you tell your good story? I'm going to tell mine too. Can you get your reading finger ready? Because we're going to check our story as we read the number sentence, okay? So if we have 8 friends on the bus, they drive to school and 0 friends get off the bus, then there are still 8 friends on the bus. Okay? Did my story match the number sentence? Perfection. I'm amazing. I could even do it with my counting 6. All right. I could get up, or I could show 8. Can you show me 8? Yeah. Let's tell that story again. 8 friends were on the bus. We stopped at school. 0 friends got off. And there were still 8 friends on the bus. Did my counting 6 ever have to change? No, because the change was no change. It was 0. All right. And when we subtract 0, the total that we started with, or the number that we started with, is the total at the end. Because look at all the numbers we've done. 5 minus 0 equals 5. 4 minus 0 equals 4. 8 minus 0 equals 8. We could say that every time you subtract 0, you get the number you started with. Because the change that we're showing is that there was 0 change. So we're going to still stay with the number that we started with every single time. So if that's true, you can subtract 0 from any number, right? Because now you know the rule. So we could say 10 minus 0. And if we have 10 and we're subtracting 0, how many are we going to end up with? Yeah, 10. What about 13? Oh, that's how old my kiddo is now. 13 minus 0. What number do we have as a total? Yeah, 13, because there's no change, right? What if we had, 7? My friend Lucy is 7. What if we had 7? 7 minus 0, what's the answer going to be? Yes, it's going to be 7. Good job, friend. Because when you subtract 0, you get the number you started with. Just like when I started out with 4 cookies and 0 people ate them, and I ended up still with 4 cookies. The change was that there was no change. All right. Our learning goal for today says I can tell what happens when you subtract all and when you subtract 0. And friend, you did an amazing job showing subtracting all and subtracting 0. Today, what I want you to do is just keep practicing subtracting all and subtracting 0. And now that you know the rules of what happens when you subtract all and when you subtract 0, you can really show off your skills to other people by subtracting all and subtracting 0 with some pretty big numbers. All right, have such a fun time, friend. I'll see you next time. Bye.